We're now joined by Lawrence Donegan, who's going to talk about Rory McIlroy's return to winning ways, and I think his comments all year about the LIV boys and what it's going to be like to take them on next month. How are you getting on, Lawrence?
Pretty good, Johnny. How are you?
I'm not too bad. Life good with you?
Yeah, pretty good. You know, just loving my golf at the moment. A lot of excitement, a lot of interest. Yeah, people are kind of all kinds of questions. I'll be interested to see what happens in the next 6 months.
Yeah, Rory obviously, he received $18 million in prize money for this win at East Lake. It's his 5th title of the season, the 3rd time he's won this. He did make a comment which caught my attention a bit, maybe, like as somebody who's kind of dips in and out of golf. He said, I'm probably the least interested in money, basically, on the tour.
Yeah, if that's because he makes a fortune off the tour. I tell you, no, this is interesting. You go and have a look. Type in Rory McIlroy Symphony Ventures. In 2019, Rory set up an investment vehicle called Symphony Ventures, and it's a lot of the NBA guys have done this through the years. LeBron and Kevin Durant, and he has some kind of advisory boards of guys who are in that venture capital world, and he has made some pretty smart investments, and they're all kind of, if you go and look hard enough, you'll find them. The one that really catches my eye, he invested in Whoop. You ever heard of Whoop?
Yes, I have indeed.
Yeah, I bet you've got one. You look like the kind of guy that would have a Whoop, Johnny. Anyway, Rory invested $10 million, I think it was, in the Series E funding. I bet you didn't think we'd get into Series E funding.
Whoop has been actually a very good friend of Off the Ball. I haven't actually yet availed. I'm sure I will, but I do take the compliment.
Well, the last that was in Series E. And Series F, Whoop was ventured at 3.6. It was valued at 3.6 billion.
Wow! So
Rory isn't messing around. Anyway, I mean, good on him. You know, very smart move. But the point is, you know, he's the least interested in money because he has been the smartest off the course of any professional golfer. He's made some amazing investments over the last three years. So yeah, again. I mean, I think we can trade in a bit of, we're talking, the gossip is he's made, in the last few years, he's made over, 3-figure millions in his investments portfolio.
Well, you're a journalist who's dabbled in the music career, both of which in the modern era, it's hard to make a lot of money from. Is that fair to say?
That is absolutely true. Don't get me started on that, Johnny.
Yeah, well, that's the second half of the show in a special sequence tonight. But like when you're following golf, like.
Yep.
Can you make sense of, like, do these people live in the real world? Like, when you see the comments from some of the guys who've gone down the LIV route, that, like, I have to put bread on my table, sort of, I'm paraphrasing here, but do they live in the real world? Or, like, comments like this from Rory, are they maybe a little bit kind of, I don't know, misguided in the sense that there's so much poverty elsewhere in the world, or am I wrong?
Well, there's a couple of points and you can unravel on that. One, I don't really understand why. Again, I sound like a LIV apologist. I'm not. I would never take LIV money, but I don't understand why golfers are being particularly picked upon. You know, Joe Biden was in Saudi Arabia last month, signed a $3.7 trillion arms deal with Saudi Arabia. You know, yet the world seems to be piling on to 50 golfers, pro golfers. So there is that. However, I mean, there is a kind of tone deafness to a lot of it. There really is. I wouldn't include Rory in that, but this nonsense about putting food on the table. I mean, it's just absolute garbage. I mean, the modern golfer, if you're a top 100 in the world in professional golf these days, you are making an absolute fortune. I mean, there is so much money around. So there is a real tone deafness to all of that. But you take a guy like Rory. I wouldn't proclaim to know Rory very well, but you get to a stage where the money almost doesn't really matter. It's just it's just there. And so what elevates the guys is, is a competition. I mean, again, I don't want to apologize for these guys, but I mean, it really is. A guy like Rory isn't playing for money, and it's not because he has tons of it. He's just not playing for money. He didn't, when he started out, he wasn't playing for money. He was just playing because he loved golf. And, if you look at him yesterday, you could see, I mean, he was tingling. It was amazing to watch, and you could just tell what was driving him was two things: a love of competition and a love of golf. And for a lot of these guys, that is what it's all about. I mean, they need to be a bit tightly handled by their PR guys. Stop with all this rubbish about bread on the table and all this nonsense. But one of the unique things about this LIV Golf has been the uniquely horrendous PR that surrounded it. Putting some of the most No, I wouldn't say stupid, but not some of the smartest guys in front of a microphone. There was famously the first LIV press conference that they were asked about. I think it was Poulter was asked about if Vladimir Putin had a golf tournament, would you show up? That's a pretty spicy question, and a lot of these guys that aren't equipped to handle that kind of stuff.
Actually, you just touched on something there, though, because Saudi Arabia runs the Saudi Cup in horse racing, which I would be a lot more involved in, and there is literally not a murmur in racing. Nothing whatsoever about going over to fight for a $20 million purse in one race. I think is absolutely obscene. It's obviously funded by the Saudi government. Not a murmur, nothing in racing. So it almost does feel like golfers, this might sound completely daft because I think the LIV thing is despicable, but it does sound like they're a somewhat easy target when there's an awful lot of what about you could get involved in. Well,
again, credit to the golf media world, because for a long time it's been slagged off as one of the coziest media worlds for golf, in professional sport. You go to your typical, in years gone past, you go to your typical professional golfer PGA Tour press conference, and it was very, very cosy. There were no hardball questions. So credit to the golf media for getting a bit of backbone, a bit of spine, and sort of getting stuck into this particular subject. But your point is well made. I'll give you another one. The Wall Street Journal reported last week that 10 of the world's top artists have signed deals with Saudi Arabia to go and build installations in the desert for some new project. A story drops in the Wall Street Journal, and that's it, not a peep. Nobody says anything. We move on to the next thing. Again, it is one of the great mysteries to me that why everybody seems to have stopped and decided to pile into these professional golfers. Part of the problem is professional golfers as a bunch, especially these guys, the guys who've gone to LIV, are not a very sympathetic bunch. They're kind of very, well pillowed, and you don't particularly look like great athletes, a lot of them. And, so yeah, they're not, a lot of them. Rory cuts a sympathetic figure, but Patrick Reed doesn't. Bryson DeChambeau doesn't. So the LIV golfers, it doesn't help LIV that I don't know if I can use this word, but they're basically quite a lot of pricks out there playing in the LIV golf, So again, that would explain, why they've been, people have got stuck into them. I mean, again, my view is credit to the golf media world for getting stuck in for once in its life.
No chance of Mohammed bin Salman giving us any sponsorship in the near future after that comment.
Sorry about that.
Just going to have to take it. In terms of the golf itself, Rory's 6-shot deficit here. He's how improbable was his start of the day?
Oh, it's totally improbable. How improbable was it after his first hole on Thursday? He tripled the first hole. It was, I think he said it himself. I mean, I can't, there is a number kicking around about how many guys have lost a tournament with a 6-shot lead. Not many in the last few years, but some brilliant golf from Rory. It's driving the ball this week. I mean, no wonder people just love watching Rory McIlroy. It's just, it's so athletic. But the actual, if you delve into the numbers, the big difference yesterday was his putting. Never been seen as one of the world's great putters, but I won't baffle you with statistics too much, Johnny. But he gained 3.92 strokes on the greens with his putting over the last 36 holes. That's phenomenal. Again, I've picked out another stats. I think in his career, Rory's led strokes gained putting in a tournament 6 times, and he's won 4 of those tournaments. So, I mean, you could, the long and the short of it is he can usually be relied on to drive the ball brilliantly. And when he puts well, he's very, very hard to beat. And that proved to be the case yesterday. It was a brilliant spectacle. And as I say, part of it was his own. You could just see how much he was up for it. Brilliant to watch. He's just a cut above everybody else. I mean, not quite a Tiger in the glory years, but he's in terms of a spectacle, he's getting pretty close.
So where would he rank putting-wise then?
Well, this year, I mean, over his career, not very highly, but this year I think he finished in the putting stats. He finished 14th on the PGA Tour. Again, if Rory does that in a season, you can guarantee he's done really well, because he's always going to be in the top 2 or 3 strokes gained tee to green. In large part because of his driving. He's just the best driver in the PGA Tour by miles. So this year has been a very good year for him putting, and that's reflected in what I think he's won 3 times the PGA Tour this year. I think you said, I think he's made 28 million, finished top 8 at least in the majors. and there's still, he's still got a few events to go. So what a season for him! It's been amazing.
What changes with regard to his putting? Is this like is this coaching? Is it practice? Is it reaching his prime? Is it a mental thing? Is there even anything? Is it just a particularly good day, or is it a good season? What is it?
No, it's here we go. I mean, I could talk about this for hours. He has never been known. When Rory turned pro, the knock on him was, well, amazing player, great ball striker, not a particularly good putter. I mean, he had a good amateur career, but not a phenomenal amateur career. So essentially, he's just been getting better and better as the years have progressed. So I guess it's practice. He switched to. He's been around a few putting coaches over the years. Dave Stockton, he putted well with Dave Stockton back in the 2011, 2012. He moved on to Phil Kenyon, probably the world's leading putting coach. Did okay. In the last 2 or 3 years, he went to Brad Faxon, who your golf nut listeners out there will know was one of probably the best putter in the PGA Tour in the last 30 years, apart from Tiger. Faxon has a more holistic approach to putting. It's a bit more about feel and not so technical. And, that's probably, when you actually think about it, Rory's not so much a technical golfer. He's more of a feel golfer. Obviously, his swing is technically sound. But by focusing on feel with putting, I think that's probably freed him up. And he just, he's just holing a few more putts and kind of getting on with it. It's, I'll tell you, watch out because he's only 31 now. I think he's 31. Oh my goodness, if he can bottle what he's had this year and start using it over the next 3 or 4 years, there's no way. I mean, I know we're all agog with his performance from yesterday, but there's no way he does win a major championship next year. I'm not a gambling man, and I wouldn't, but put the house on it, Johnny.
Well, where is he at right now in terms of his the best golf he's played in his career, despite the fact that we're in a majors famine? How would that performance yesterday compare to the prodigy, the precocious McIlroy, who obviously has been on a bit of a lull in terms of winning majors?
That's a great question, and interesting one. Of course, the real answer is we just don't know. Oh my goodness. Looking at it, I mean, statistically, he won the Varden Trophy for the 4th time. That's for the trophy they give to the guy with the lowest scoring average on the PGA Tour. That's his 4th time. There's only 6 guys in history. They started handing that bauble out in, I think it was 1930. There's only 6 guys that have won the Varden Trophy 4 times or more. I mean, you can reel off the names: Palmer, Snead, Trevino. I can't remember, a couple more. And look at Rory. So he's 2011, I guess, 2014 would be his prime years. What is remarkable, though, I mean, this year would certainly not, obviously he didn't win a major this year, but that would match those years, 2011, 2014, when he was winning these majors. But he's done it with all this noise going on. It seems like, he's, to all intents and purposes, it appears that he is leading the PGA Tour. He's got a new family. He's got his investment business going on. And now he's kind of rode into, not rescue the PGA Tour, but it seems that once him and Tiger Woods got into, they're obviously seeing there was a real problem. When the LIV thing was launched, the PGA Tour was completely caught off guard. It's taken them 3 or 4 months to kind of get its balance, and helping them restore balance and a bit of a pushback. McIlroy's been right at the forefront of it. I mean, as I say, him and Tiger Woods. So he's got all that going, and yet at the same time he's playing some of the best golf of his career. It really is something else. And I say this all the time about McIlroy. To all intents and purposes, Rory left school at 14. He was a golf protege, so he wasn't. He's not a boy with, I don't know what I'm not au fait with the educational system in the north there, but to all intents, not a highly qualified person. Not particularly. Again, he said it himself. He's a very well-read guy now, but at the time, he basically never opened a book. And to see him now stand in front of the microphone, it's very, very impressive. And behind the scenes, he's clearly a bit of a mover and shaker in what is essentially a multi-billion-dollar sports business. I mean, that is impressive, really impressive.
Yeah, and like in you know, he's become almost like the de facto sports person for the anti-LIV movement in a sense. What he's done for the Irish Open. It's interesting what you say there, because like we all know that Tiger had an extremely complex upbringing, which came home to roost subsequently. But like Rory McIlroy's upbringing was far from normal because of how good he was as a golfer. Yet and that almost seemed to place this unbelievable pressure on him that. Maybe now in sort of recent years he's had his kid Poppy, I think it was her birthday, and his good friend Shane Lowry was over for a glass of wine, I think, after one. But he just seems to be in a very good place, as you say. And as much as he's been extremely lucky, it can't have been an easy life for him either in some respects.
No, well, I don't know. You're brilliant. I mean, you got to. I'm tangentially involved in the world. I mean, my lad plays golf at a pretty decent level. He's a pretty young kid.
What age is he, Lawrence?
He's 17. He just turned 17 a couple of weeks ago. But my point, it's difficult. You know, you can, if you're in that world. I mean, I've been around golf, professional golf, amateur golf for now on 30 years now. But you can spot, you can spot good parenting. You know, it's pretty easy. And I think Rory just had he had an unusual upbringing, but he also had a tremendous upbringing. I think his parents have done a phenomenal job. I mean, I don't think he would argue, but I mean, he was precocious. Young athletes can be, tricky, and volatile. And I don't think he would deny that Rory's not been a model citizen for his entire golfing career, but he's kind of his foundation stones and the values that he was given by his parents. I mean, it's all coming home to the roost now, isn't it? He's a very, very impressive figure. There's a lot going on in social media. Rory rides in to save golf. I mean, this Messiah thing, we need to put that to one side. There's more people involved in that, but it's amazing. I think part of it is there's been a failure of leadership in the PGA Tour, and either McIlroy or Woods or some the people who surrounded them said, "Hang on a minute here. If we allow the Jay Monahan, the PGA Tour commissioner, to be our leading figure in pushing back against LIV, we're in serious trouble." So again, I keep going back. So McIlroy and Woods together have come in and they've. I think you'll notice actually, LIV had it pretty much its own way for a couple of months here, but I think the PGA Tour has kind of regained its balance and is kind of pushing back. And I know LIV announced a few new including a few new golfers today or yesterday. Cam Smith, the most recent Open champion, being one of them. But the PGA Tour launched its own revised schedule, or this kind of new format for the PGA Tour. So there's a real battle going on, and it's not such a one-sided fight anymore. And I think McIlroy is partly responsible for that. So
Lee Westwood, Sergio Garcia, Graham McDowell and Ian Poulter will be among the LIV players expected to play in the BMW PGA Championship.
Yep. I think there's 19 of them, Johnny.
19 of them. Something which McIlroy has described as something that will be hard to stomach. This will be an intriguing spectacle on a lot of levels, though.
Don't you love it, though? I mean, I just think it's brilliant. Golf has been such a cosy world. There is genuine animosity now between PGA Tour guys and LIV guys. I just, I'd pay to watch a fight. Wouldn't it be great if Lee Westwood and Rory McIlroy started scrapping out on the driving range at Wentworth? It won't happen, obviously, but yeah, it's there's real. Well, I wouldn't call it. How can I phrase this? There's a little bit of edge now, and that's. I tell you, here's an idea. If you're looking for a new golf tournament, maybe you and I could organise this as a Ryder Cup thing between LIV Golf and PGA Tour. Wouldn't that be? That would be.
That'd be worth watching with all the Saudi royal family at the last tee, maybe, or something like that. But just from your perspective, like I couldn't hit a golf ball to save my life. I was never going to be a golfer. You obviously have a golf pedigree. Was there anything that would make you think this was a good idea to join the LIV movement? It just seems totally baffling to me when they have so much money as it is.
Well, I mean, there's money and there's money. A professional golfer. If you're a reasonable, say, Harold Varner. Harold Varner was one of the 7 who jumped over to LIV yesterday. Good player, but he's making on the PGA Tour maybe. He's got to play well to make the money. By the way, it's not guaranteed. He's probably making $3 to $4 million on the PGA Tour a year. and another couple of million off the course. So there's your 6 million, none of it guaranteed, of course. You've got to play well. And LIV come along and say, well, we'll give you 10 million a year and it's guaranteed for 5 years. You know, it's a bit of a no-brainer. If I'm Ian Poulter, I'm 45 years old, my game is, you know, I'm sure he would deny it, but my game is in decline, you know, which is perfectly normal. Somebody comes along and offers you, you know, 25 to 30 million. There's no way in God's earth that Ian Poulter is going to make guaranteed money 25 million over the next 4 or 5 years. So you can see the fiscal calculation on the part of these guys, and you again, who are we to criticise them? They're, you know, it's their careers, it's their living. From Ian Poulter's point of view, he's probably thinking, well, I've given enough to the European Tour over the years. I've played my part, and now it's time for me to really look after myself. I mean, you get the philosophical question: how much money is too much money? I mean, everybody's got a different answer. I'm sure your answer. I mean, you look like a very well put together. You probably don't need to live money, Johnny. But maybe somebody like me might.
You can tell you don't know me very well. I didn't know you very well either. Had to look up that you were bassist in the Bluebells back in the day. The other thing I learned is that your son obviously has a bit of talent. What are his aspirations as a young golfer? And where might he be in the future?
Oh, hey, that's the other thing about golf, Johnny. You just never know you just never know from one year to the next.
You can tell you're proud, but you're not putting too much pressure on him.
No, not at all. No, but there's a lot of great young players. I was at a junior golf event last week, and the standard is just blow your minds. Actually, Ireland's got a couple of really good young guys as well. There's a kid called Sean Keeling. Watch out for him. I think Sean's only about 16, cracking little player. So we'll see. For all these kids, I think the PGA Tour is still the ultimate goal for all these kids. So you speak to them, there's no 15, 16, 17-year-old kids going around saying, oh, can't wait to go and play LIV golf. Or saying, oh, can't. I mean, they're just not, you know. They're
not young Donegan anyway.
No, he'd get chased if he went to LIV. I tell you, you need to look for fresh lodgings. But they're all still saying, I want to play in the European Tour. I want to go and play in the PGA Tour. You know, so I think it'll be a long time before LIV. You know, if there's any 15-year-old running around Donegal saying, I want to go play in the LIV Tour. That's a long way off.
Kick up the arse. All the best.
All the best, Johnny.